The extradition judge of the first instance of the Supreme Court of Justice of Honduras issued the provisional detention to the former president of the country, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who is requested by the Justice of the United States for allegedly incurring in the crimes of drug trafficking and the use of weapons. As a consequence of the floods and landslides in the Brazilian city of Petrópolis, 104 people were reported dead. Palestinians gather at the renowned Soldier Square in Gaza City to protest against Jewish settlers evicting other Palestinian families from their homes in the Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. From the headquarters of Telesur English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm your anchor, Gladys Quesada, and these are the news. In Honduras, on Wednesday, the extradition judge of first instance of the Supreme Court of Justice of that Central American nation issued the provisional detention to the former president of the country, Juan Orlando Hernandez, who is requested by the Justice of the United States for allegedly incurring in the crimes of drug trafficking and the use of weapons. The Supreme Court details that the hearing of presentation and evacuation of evidence in the case of Hernandez will be next March 16th. Juan Orlando Hernandez attended the court hearing under heavy security measures and in compliance with his human rights and due process. Magistrate Edwin Cortés, who was appointed by the court to carry out the extradition process of Hernandez, will decide during the hearings if the former president will continue to be detained at the National Directorate of the Special Forces or if he will be sent to the 1st Infantry Battalion to serve preventive detention. For its part, the U.S. Embassy in Tegucigalpa accuses Hernandez of plotting to import controlled substances into that country, such as 500,000 kilograms of cocaine since 2004. At the same time, the embassy asserts that the former Honduran president must answer for the alleged crimes of manufacture, distribution, and possession of a controlled substance on board a U.S. registered aircraft, as well as aiding and abetting the use, power, and possession of machine guns and destructive devices. In Peru, a claim for national treason against Pedro Castillo is the latest attempt of the opposition to oust him of the presidential seat. In the midst of another wave of antics to force his resignation, lawmakers call on the international community to pay close attention to the events transpiring in the country.
Access to the sea was the motive behind another attempt to cause Pedro Castillo to leave the presidency of Peru. This time, the opposition accused him of national treason. I consider it to be a totally based action because the president gave his opinion, which is debatable. I think he was wrong, but it seems to me that the whole thing isn't a cause for accusing him of treason. No. Last Friday, Congress opposition approved including a denounce against Castillo for national treason in their agenda, using his declaration to a media outlet from Peru. Now look, I think this last period of government has been marked by the right-wing denial to acknowledge their defeat in elections. Since the beginning, the right has been reluctant to accept his defeat. These days, another attempt of removing Castillo from presidency was revealed, this time staged by the head of Congress Maria del Carmen Alba and other lawmakers who were caught in a private room planning to speed up the executive leave. The evidences supporting this has prompted Peru Libre Congresswoman Margot Palacios to constitutionally impute them of seditious crimes.
As the President of the Congress of the Republic, she said, "I am ready to act as President of the nation." So I think clearly this points to open ambitions concerning a coup.
In a recent statement, Peru Libre Party reminded the country hard times are ahead and asked international organizations to pay close attention to what's been going on the country regarding the right-wing's disproportionate response to the electoral results.
We are calling on the international community to also pronounce itself on the matter. We ask for transparency. International organizations that defend democracy must observe closely, because here we are facing tough situations. We have received off the record information that there will be a coup this week, which is of serious concern.
I think the progressive force should have a say in Latin America right now, because there is a clear attempt of backing the presidency or of forcing Castillo to resign. I don't support the previous administration, neither do I share the president's views, but I feel elections must be respected and that whatever wins should be in charge. Therefore, a political agreement must be reached in order to protect this democracy. According to several experts in the country, acknowledging Peru faces a crisis is only the first step. A conclusive solution is needed, one with lasting agreement that all parties abide, so the dispute between the opposition and the government may come to an end, and finally these sides begin working together in the citizens' most urgent problems, like those concerning healthcare, education, and economic reactivation.
Ramiro Angulo Maquiavelo, Telesur, Lima.
Now we move on to other topics. In Ecuador, they denounced the raid of the headquarters of this Council of Citizen Participation by security forces, accompanying Councillor Hernán Ulloa. The head of the Council of Citizen Participation and the Social Control of Ecuador, Sofia Almeida, denounced this Tuesday the raid committed by police and tax agents. The Council of Citizen Participation and Social Control, which among other faculties designates the authorities of control bodies, represents an independent function of the Ecuadorian state. Despite this, Almeida was removed from her post on February 9th by councillors who favored President Guillermo Lasso, and Hernán Ulloa was appointed in her place. We'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros held a meeting on Wednesday with Russian Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Borisov as part of the agenda on the Intergovernmental Commission on both nations. At the meeting, the authorities assessed the development of the agreements signed last October 2021 within the framework of strengthening strategic cooperation. Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro Moros expressed his gratitude to the Eurasian nation for its support during the COVID-19 pandemic. It was also an opportunity to reaffirm the bonds of brotherhood between the countries and their leaders. Earlier, Russian Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Borisov also held a meeting with Vice President Delcy Rodriguez and other representatives of the Bolivarian government within the framework of a session of the Russia-Venezuela High-Level Intergovernmental Commission. During the meeting, Borisov stressed that Venezuela has become a strategic partner for his country in Latin America and at the same time stressed the importance of geostrategic coordination between Moscow and Caracas. Now we move on to other topics. As a consequence of the floods and landslides in the Brazilian city of Petrópolis, 104 people were reported dead. Rio State's firefighter department said the number of missing persons is still to be announced, which is why the expectations is that the tally of deaths might grow. The amount of vehicles and rubble swept away by the water difficults the search and rescue operations. The civil defense informs at least 54 houses were destroyed and almost 400 people have been evacuated to shelters. Meanwhile, firefighter teams pointed out that in only 6 hours it rained more than expected for the month of February. The international meeting promoted by the United Nations for the reconstruction of the country has concluded in Haiti. During the event, the comprehensive plan of the reconstruction of the southern peninsula of Haiti was presented, which includes, among other issues, the plan for the housing and education sectors seriously damaged by the earthquake of August 2021. The estimated cost of the reconstruction and recovery effort is nearly $2 billion.
But they need our solidarity, and we need Haiti to succeed.
During the closing ceremony of the international meeting promoted by the United Nations for the Reconstruction of Haiti, UN's Deputy Secretary General Amina Mohamed, while addressing towards the participants, said that Haiti's national institutions need international solidarity to succeed in the recovery of the country.
It's not the time to give up. First, because the people of Haiti never give up. Time and time again, they mourn their losses, and then they pick themselves up and they put their lives back together. Second, because Haiti is again at a crossroad. Years of investment in stability and development must be protected, and national institutions are clearly ready to lead. But they need our solidarity, and we need Haiti to succeed. The Haitian people, especially the women and the youth, like people everywhere in our global community, deserve a stable, a peaceful and prosperous future. Today, we have another opportunity to get closer to that goal, an opportunity to show that we have learned from the mistakes of the past and that we know how to make smart and sustainable investments, that we can recognize national leadership when it is in motion and that we can invest in it. Today, we reaffirm our commitment to stand with Haiti and its people and to support the country's recovery towards sustainable development, democracy, stability, and peace.
And in Havana on Wednesday, at the International Conference for the Financing of the Reconstruction of the Southern Peninsula of Haiti, Miguel Díaz-Canel Bermúdez, the first secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party and the president of the Republic of Cuba, addressed an official speech to express the Cuban solidarity with the Caribbean country.
Today, as proof of our willingness, we reaffirm our decision to support the vaccination campaign against COVID-19 in Haiti through expert advising and supplying of Cuban vaccines. Last January 27th, we informed the General Secretariat of the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, of our commitment to donate 72,000 doses of Abdala, Soberana 02 and Soberana Plus for the immunization of 24,000 people in the Caribbean.
Una donación similar ofrecimos a los Estados miembros de la Organización de Estados del Caribe Oriental.
A similar donation was offered to members of the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States. We invite all governments, international organizations, and donors, without exception, to mobilize necessary financial resources, transfer technologies, make capacity-building mechanisms viable, and fulfill the commitments in terms of official development assistance for Haiti, all of which must be carried out with the strictest respect to its sovereignty, to the Haitian people and government and institutions.
And China urged the United States to stop spreading false information and help facilitate peace and cooperation in the midst of the conflict in Ukraine. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Wang Wenbin noted that in the recent days, the U.S. side has been inflating the threat of war, artificially creating a tense atmosphere in Ukraine that could harm the economy and stability of the Ukrainian people. In this regard, the Chinese official took note of the meeting of Russian President Vladimir Putin with the Defense Minister, in which it was reported the ending of armed forces exercises and the withdrawal of military forces to their garrisons. And we have more news coming up after a final short break, so stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. Palestinians gather at the unknown Soldier Square in Gaza City to protest against Jewish settlers evicting other Palestinian families from their homes in the Jerusalem neighborhood of Sheikh Jarrah. Currently, East Jerusalem is home to 300,000 Palestinians who are constantly reset by displacement, demolitions, and evictions as part of the Israeli policy. Through these actions, Israel tries to expel the Palestinians so that Jewish settlers continue to occupy their properties. Since 1967, the government initiated a plan, approximately 56,000 units for Israeli settlers in East Jerusalem, while for Palestinians, the government supported just a handful.
This stand comes as a warning to the Zionist entity for its continued attacks on our people in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. We will not stand idly by if these crimes against our people continue in Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood. The occupation must bear full responsibility for the repercussions of its crimes against our people.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates, Faisal Al-Mikdad, met today with the UN Special Envoy for Syria, Geir Pedersen, and his accompanying delegation. The two sides discussed the latest developments regarding the situation in Syria, including the efforts made by the Syrian state to consolidate stability and the latest developments related to the political process. The continued presence of the US and the Turkish occupying forces is considered a violation of Syrian sovereignty and international law. He reiterated that the unilateral coercive measures imposed on the country are the main cause of the suffering of Syrians.
Into quite some detail on discussions on the need for progress on the Constitutional Committee. And I must say that after my discussion today, I'm more optimistic that it will be possible to convene the seventh round of the drafting body of the Constitutional Committee, hopefully sometime in March.
Zimbabwe's government suspended most of the teachers in public schools for 3 months this Wednesday over a wage dispute between the education sector and authorities. Teacher syndicates, the unions, counted at least 135,000 professionals of education suspended, of the 140,000 active employees in public schools. Likewise, the syndicate and the union of the rural teachers presented a challenge of the suspension for the Superior Tribunal for 3 months. After almost the 90% of the teachers of the public education, some schools were totally abandoned for the student staff. Meanwhile, in other regions of the country, few continue with their plan of study. And tensions rise in Nigeria with the beginning of a 24-hour supply to end the fuel shortages. The state-run Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation started 24-hour distribution of petrol to service stations to end a week-long scarcity that has caused traffic jams in major cities. Transport fares have gone up in several cities, curtailing services and forcing some residents and workers to walk long distances. Most homes in Nigeria also rely on petrol and diesel to power their generators, as the public power supply is unreliable and prone to blackouts. Now we move on to other topics. Zanzibar inaugurated the first scanner of the continent that detects a passenger positive for COVID-19 in a few seconds. Zanzibar receives Africa's first ED COVID scanner in Abeid Amani Karume International Airport. The ED scanners use cameras that detect the electromagnetic waves emitted in the body. The device rapidly checks if the waves have changed by the presence of RNA particles and checks if it matches with the COVID-19 RNA molecule. The result is immediate. The health minister expressed that the government wants to ensure that Zanzibar is a safe place to visit, live and enjoy. In California, state officials announced indoor mask mandate expiration date on February 7th. Residents have shown mixed reactions. Some of them think that masks protect them, while others think that finally can live without fear. The state loosened its mask mandate on Wednesday, allowing vaccinated residents the option of not wearing a mask indoors, except for certain public areas such as schools, public transportations, and nursing homes.
I think it's depends to the situation. For example, if I feel, for example, I am sick and I care about other people, I need to wear my mask to make sure that I'm not affecting other people. It's all about caring about other people. But at the same time also, it's going to be a good decision that if we're going to remove the mask in the future, which means give more trust and confidence for the people, that they can know that they can go anywhere, no problems, no anything, no mask. We don't need to be fair for anything. The thing is,
Spain's health minister announces that the sports events will once again welcome spectators at 100% capacity from the 4th of March, thanks to COVID cases going down in the country.
Today we have agreed that from the weekend of the 4th of March, sports events outside and inside will go back to the 100% of their capacity, given the good of trends in all epidemiological indicators.
And the COVID-19 fatalities increase in the Americas, according to data from the Pan American Health Organization. According to the Pan American Health Organization, COVID-19 deaths have increased 5.6% in recent weeks, yet the rate of contagion has dropped 31% over the same day. Health agency reports that in the region indicate that the United States is the most affected country in the Americas. After almost 80 million cases and 950,000 deaths by COVID-19, Brazil follows with nearly 28 million infections and more than 640,000 deaths from the virus. And we have come to the end of this news brief. But remember, you can find this and many other stories on our website at telesurienglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media for all the latest news. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For Telesur English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.